Hello, everybody. This is Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. Wanted to just talk to you a little bit right now about the border and how almost incredibly President Joe Biden is attempting to use the border crisis as an excuse not to end the national emergency. I mean, what a fraud. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you look at what he sent in a report to Congress, telling him why he's going to veto the ending of the national emergency by Congress, which has only been in place for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. He's going to end it for two reasons. Number one, he said he doesn't want to end it for 60 days because it's going to cause chaos in our medical system. Really? The whole reason the national emergency for the healthcare system was put in place was because the disease was going to cause chaos in the medical system. Now you want to say if we don't have complete government control and ability to have all these edicts and everything and make it so everybody's forced into telework versus going and seeing doctors in person. No, that's not how you're going to fix any of this. The government national emergency doesn't need Joe Biden to take 2 more months to fix it so we can go back to normal. If he'd been doing his job, he would have noticed that the pandemic was over, and he would have taken steps over the last 6 months to bring the situation down so there was less dependency on the federal government emergency and all the edicts they put in place. But no, once again, the Biden administration isn't interested in actually projecting what's going to happen and having a plan for how to deal with it. They just want to stumble along until finally people have had enough and said, Joe, time's up. Emergency's over, whether you like it or not. And that's what Congress is doing right now. Yesterday, they passed the End the Pandemic is Over Act by Representative Guthrie out of Kentucky, rather. And that bill ends the national health emergency. Today or tomorrow, the House is going to pass Representative Paul Gosar's ending of the national emergency, which is HJR 7, House Joint Resolution 7. Representative Paul Gosar had this bill last year. Nancy Pelosi wouldn't let it come up. She blocked it a number of different ways. The same bill passed the Senate overwhelmingly last year. And so there's bipartisan support for this. Joe Biden is saying, no, I don't want this. I need 60 days. Get this. The reason he says he needs 60 days is also related to immigration, because did you know that with immigration, if they do end the national emergency, Title 42 will be over? Title 42, remember, that's the one that forces immigrants to get COVID tested, and they can't come across the border unless they've been fully vetted related to COVID. The very thing that Joe Biden fought to the Supreme Court to get rid of. The fact he says he needs 60 days now to deal with the fallout from that tells you exactly what a big lie it was he told the Supreme Court when he said, we need to get rid of Title 42 immediately. And oh, by the way, he says he needs 60 days. He never developed a plan for what to do after those 60 days. So here, Joe, I'm going to give you a plan. The plan is reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy that Donald Trump had in place. Plan B, part B of the plan, is make it so people are staying. If they're staying in Mexico, then they have to be adjudicated only on a very concise method, and you can actually figure out what people actually are legitimately asylum seekers and what people are just people who want to come here for goodies and stuff and for a better life. Which is, I can't blame people for wanting to come for a better life. But that's not the reason that you have people crashing the borders, and that's not an excuse for Joe Biden's open border policy. Let's take a look at what's actually happened at the border, because I think this is really instructive. I think you guys will get this. This is from the Border Patrol, their official website, and it tracks how many border crossings there have been since 2020, Donald Trump's last year in office, 2021, 2022, and the first 3 months of fiscal year 2023. Because remember, in the federal government world, the year ends on September 30th. It begins on October 1st. And so we're now 3 months tracking, or actually 4 months, but 3 months of tracking through the fiscal year of 2023. 2023. So here we go. We're going to put this up and boom. So here's the chart. And what you can see here, this is Donald Trump's last year. Okay, note, between 0,000 a month and 100,000 a month. Okay, woo, way down to about 35,000 down here in April. Okay, it was actually 30,000. So look at these numbers. Look at these numbers. That just grow that a little bit, move it down so you can see it easier. Look at these numbers. 2020, 61,000. Joe Biden takes over. 2020, January 2020, 90,000. October 2021, 90,000. October 2022, 187,000. They doubled. 2023, 278,000, a 50% increase from 2022. Joe Biden says the numbers are going down. I think Joe Biden needs a math class. He won't remember it anyway. November, Donald Trump, 57,000. Joe Biden, 2021, 89,000, 198,000, 2022, a doubling again, 284,000 in November. December, 301,625. By far the largest number recorded, 300,000. And you'll note the trend line isn't going down, okay? It's going up. So we have 844,000 people who've come through across the border in Border Patrol encounters in the first 3 months of fiscal year 2023. Joe Biden wants to say he needs 2 months to figure out what to do about the border. He's had 2 years to figure out what to do with the border. If Joe Biden actually wanted to do something about the border, he would reinstate Donald Trump's policies and get the heck out of the way and let the Border Patrol do their job. Let ICE do their job. But he doesn't. He's lying to you. And, to put it in a graphical presentation, here's the graph. Once again, you see how bad 2022 was, with a high of 274 in 2022. The low of fiscal year 2023 is higher than the highest point of 2022. And it's only accelerating. Folks, this doesn't count the getaways. And I've seen estimates that there are 100,000 getaways a month now. A month. In 2 years, in the first 2 years, there were estimated about between 900,000, 1 million getaways in the first 2 years of the Biden administration. If the trend line continues the way it's been, we're going to end up topping more than 1 million people, more than 1 million getaways this year alone. Getaways, I remind you, are people who don't end up having an encounter with a Border Patrol, but they are people who they catch on camera or in some of their tracking that they get to show that there's what's happening. And so they're counting them, but as people they know got away. These are not estimates. This is not a survey. This is actual people they've had eyes on who did not get caught. And we're looking at 100,000 a month right now of people getaways. You know who the getaways are? By and large, the getaways are the people who the cartels are trying to get across the border. They're the ones who are the worst of the worst. So you flood the immigration system, the Border Patrol officers, with processing lots of people and putting them on planes and sending them to a neighborhood next near you. That's what the Border Patrol is doing now based on Biden policy. If you go off and you do, when the getaways, they're the ones that the cartels are saying, okay, the border is not secure. The border, nobody's covering these parts of the border. We can run people through. That's where your drug runners, that's where your soldiers for the cartel are coming across the border. That's where the terrorists are coming across. That's the danger point. 100,000 getaways this last month. Since once again into perspective, because you see these numbers and, we're talking in numbers and we're talking, millions, billions, trillions, and it's just 3 zeros between a million and a billion, and only 3 zeros between a billion and a trillion, and numbers kind of fade and kind of go into your brain and leave. Here's what is really, really, really significant. If you continue along the trend line of averaging about 200, let's say 300,000 people a month, because this is not a high water mark, it's a low water mark. If you end up with 300,000 people a month coming across the border, 12 months, what does that mean? It means you got 3.6 million people came across the border. 3.6 million people, what does that mean? It's larger than the entire city of Los Angeles. County of Los Angeles is much larger than that. But the entire city of Los Angeles, the second largest city in this country, we are on tap, if this trend continues, to allow the equivalent of the entire city of Los Angeles to come into our country, most of whom need social services, most of whom need put a tremendous tax on our budget. And right now we're having a debt ceiling fight about how to cut the budget. And Joe Biden is blowing up the social welfare system through this process, through his open borders policy. I want to show you something here that's an outcome, and it's an outcome that matters, but most people aren't talking about it. This is in New York City. In New York City, the city council decided that they were going to not allow illegal immigrants. The state legislature told New York City that they could not have illegal immigrants in. They had to put up in hotels. So now there's a problem. And their problem is pretty simple. This is New York Post, as you can tell. Problem is pretty simple. Because they had to put them up in hotels, you have illegal immigrants now who are living in 3-star hotels, expensive hotels that normally have guests who are paying hundreds of dollars per room, who are spending money in the city. Those illegal immigrants are now living in those hotels. And New York City created a space that is all set up for them to live under roof in cots, and they're going to get 3 squares and all that. But it isn't a hotel. The illegal immigrants are protesting that they shouldn't against being moved to the New York terminal. It's a terminal for ships and for when you're going to wait in line to catch a cruise ship. Okay, big terminal for that purpose. Huge area. The illegal immigrants in New York don't want to be in a terminal where they're being housed and they're being fed and they're being cared for. No, they want to live in a 3-star hotel, and who wouldn't? So we now have people coming to New York who are illegal, who are demanding to be put up in a 3-star hotel. It's crazy. And that's what the left is doing. It's crazy. Another crazy thing, this is the Biden administration for you. I'm going to make this a little larger so you can see it. Let's see here. It's going the wrong way. Maybe that's as large as it's going to be. Okay, this is a letter from the Border Patrol Union, and it's it's an indictment of the Biden policy, because this is from yesterday. The Border Patrol Union just put out a letter commenting and opposing a new regulation that the Biden administration is imposing, and it's a do not chase regulation. The Biden administration is telling the Border Patrol that they're not allowed to engage in vehicular chases of illegals come across the border. So if a truck comes across the border with, that they discover, this truck has illegals in it, and that truck drives away, the Border Patrol agent has to make a decision. Is there a chance that this truck could crash if I engage in a chase? If they chase the truck and the truck does crash, the Border Patrol agent is liable for what happened. The Border Patrol agent could lose their job because there was a crash, because the driver of the escape vehicle crashed. So they've effectively shut down the Border Patrol's capacity to pursue illegal aliens who cross the border illegally again. Border Patrol sitting there saying, you can't tie our hands like this. It's wrong. You can't, how do you expect us to do our job? And the answer is the Biden administration does not want them to do their job. They're supposed to be babysitters and paper pushers and airline and travel agents, and not people who are protecting our border. And that's what the Biden administration has reduced our Border Patrol to. And that's why we've gotten over more than the entire city of Los Angeles in the first 2 years of the Biden administration. And we're projected to get more than the city of Los Angeles in population in the third year of the Biden administration. It's unconscionable. And yet, this guy, Joe Biden, now says, we also don't want you to be able to chase illegal aliens and drug smugglers and the like, because after all, they might get in a crash and people might get hurt. And so consequently, you're not allowed to chase them. And if you do, you're going to be held liable, Mr. Border Patrol. I don't know how these guys keep working. It's astonishing to me. Let's see here. What else we got? Okay. Once again, 844. We had a really good story today on Daily Torch. Robert Romano wrote it. I would encourage you to go to dailytorch.com. It's got a lot of these numbers. It talks about the COVID national emergency, public health emergencies, and Biden's statement that he issued through the Office of Management Budget. It's mind blowing, but I think it's important for you guys to read it. It's really well done, and there's lots of links in it, so you can double check if many of the links that I used are ones that were from there. So go to dailytorch.com. It's our lead story today. That's dailytorch.com. And I'm going to put a banner up even. How about that? What a sneaky thing to do. Maybe it's a brand. There we go. Okay. Oops. That's not what I want. Let's hide that. Okay. Sometimes I try to get too fancy and it doesn't work out. But go to dailytorch.com. You can see it right there. And this is our lead story. It's got a lot of capacity for you to dig down. Because, folks, one of our main purposes here is not to make you mad, not just to make you mad and stuff. It's to inform you. So when you're talking to people, you have the facts at your fingertips and are able to take somebody who doesn't get it and show them exactly what's going on. And by doing that, by you being more informed, your friends and your acquaintances and your circle of influence becomes more informed. And our network of people who are determined to save this country and see the problem as it really is will grow. And we have to grow if we're going to take this country back. So that's what we're trying to do. And I really encourage you to go check out this story and the rest of the stories on dailytorch.com. We got some good stuff on there. And if you are there and you haven't already signed up for the email, sign up for the email. It's free, and you get the stories delivered in your inbox every single day, 5 days a week. And there's a lot of, we have cartoons, we have other things that are really fun. So, and along with some real serious content, plus we'll get you an email about once a week where we give you something to do, an issue that matters and that needs to be fought on. So you have the opportunity to take action and get involved, and as opposed to sitting and wondering what you can do. So we tried during congressional sessions, we try to send out one a week. There's one I'm probably going to send out tomorrow, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. And with that, I'm going to see what we've got in terms of comments. And, this is one. Joe Bickers, turn our military loose on them and protect our borders. This, Joe, you're hitting a hot button here for me, because it drives me nuts that we spent $100 billion last year giving Ukraine arms, but we aren't willing to spend $1 billion to finish the wall and to protect and to secure a border. we're willing to send, risk war with Russia. And we're not talking about sending Abrams tanks to Ukraine. And Robert talked about that a lot yesterday. But we're now willing to send Abrams tanks to Ukraine, putting us on the really ratcheting up the chance that there's a direct war between us and Russia. We're willing to do that, but we leave our own border insecure. I'm sorry, I get it. You have to, that protecting other people's borders is important, but isn't the first job of our government to protect our border? Isn't that why we spend $725 billion a year on military, to protect our border? I mean, I get we have to help other countries protect their borders. We have countries we have agreements with. We have a moral responsibility in many of those cases because we have promised. But didn't we make a promise to the American people when we put our hand on the Constitution and swore to uphold the U.S. Constitution to actually defend our own sovereignty and defend our own border? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And so all these people keep talking about Ukraine. If it were me, I'd tell them not one more dollar for Ukraine until we have the dollars authorized and appropriated to finish the wall and allow the Border Patrol to do their job. I mean, I care, Ukraine important, America more important. It's pretty basic. And Joe, thanks for pushing my buttons on that. It's and with that, I just want to leave you with this in a simple way. Congress right now is doing the right thing. They're pushing through ending the emergencies. They're going to allow for America to leave the tyranny of the emergency, the COVID emergency, and show the way forward. This is the right thing. The fact it's happening early in this Congress is it shows that they're serious about it. They've got legislation which is going to restore salaries for people who were denied their salaries and give them back pay. They've got legislation, and that's related to the military and other government workers who were laid off based on the vaccine. They've got legislation that's really trying to undo the mess that's been created in terms of discrimination against people who are unvaccinated. So the House is really working hard on this. And I would encourage you to contact your members of the House, particularly the Republicans in the House in particular, and thank them for making this a priority. Thank them for returning America to at least a state that isn't being run on an emergency basis, where a presidential edict can effectively overturn the entirety of our rights in this country. So please thank them. Call your members of Congress, write your members of Congress, email your members of Congress. Thank them for standing up for America and ending this state of emergency that should not have lasted longer than a year and a half at most, and instead continues into the third year of the Biden administration, after it existing for almost the whole last year of the Trump administration. So folks, pretty simple. This is actually good news the House is acting. It's incredible this president is claiming that the borders can become insecure if the national emergency passes, ending the national emergency passes. And it's incredible that he hasn't prepared for the end of the emergencies, and his administration doesn't seem to care. We have been pushing for the impeachment of the Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. We do have a petition that's up on our website, getliberty.org. Getliberty.org. I would encourage you to go there and take advantage of that. Ultimately, somebody has to be held accountable for this craziness we've just discussed. And the HHS secretary is the one who's managing it. He's also the point of the spear in terms of government colluding and twisting the arms of social media. Because while we focus on the FBI, the fact is the Homeland Security has been working with all the intelligence agencies to get them to pressure social media platforms to not allow voices that they don't like, conservative voices, to be heard on their platforms. And so Mayorkas is the point of the spear for both the deplatforming of America and his point of spear for the invasion that is showing has had, the equivalent, if it goes on projection, the equivalent of 2 cities of Los Angeles enter our country in a 3-year period. That's the Biden immigration policy. And that's a disaster that has to be put an end to. And thank goodness Congress is taking up these emergency things to make it so we're out of a state of emergency. And let's hope that they then go and take the next step and dictate to this president that there's not going to be any amnesty. You're going to shut down the borders before we talk about anything else, and force that to occur through what they put into the funding mechanism for Homeland Security. With that, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for watching, and we will be with you tomorrow with another topic of interest, and hopefully we'll be able to show you a couple of fun things too. With that, have a great day. This is Rick Manning, Americans for Limited Government, signing off.